podcast on gaming, film, music, and pop culture. As always, if you'd like to support the podcast, please visit patreon.com/streamofgaming or like us on YouTube or on SoundCloud or iTunes. The more help we get, the more platforms we can publish in, and the more content we can bring to you. Before I get further into what the topic is, let me introduce myself as Gerbs, and we also got.
Oh, I'm Kyle,
and I'm Brent.
This is what happens when we change the format, and it's okay. I'm not complaining. I'm just like we were like what?
It's okay, no worries.
We're all good.
So today's topic that I think would be applicable because recently it was Memorial Day this past Monday, where we're recording
in the United States.
In the United States, of course, yes.
Because we're an international podcast now.
Are we?
I mean, we're on iTunes.
We're not even a national podcast, really.
Shh. Brent, don't diss the podcast.
I'm not dissing it. I'm just stating a fact.
Anyways, so Memorial Day was recent in the U.S. And so I was thinking about the Memorial Day and the war games that go along with that. But not just that, like what it makes you remember our soldiers, like fighting in battles, like what games, and I think even movies, because I know that some people, I'm not going to mention any names, have a hard time.
You mean me?
I do mean you. That don't know games, apparently, in the war genre.
No. I know games in the war genre, but they don't make me think of our soldiers because the games that I know of are like 100% ridiculous.
It's called Expand Your Mind.
Well, I'll hit you with an oldie but a goodie, one that used to be played a lot, but then just sort of faded away. Years ago, back when the only gaming computer available to me was our dad's Gateway. Mm-hmm. There was a PC game that was run by the U.S. Army called America's Army.
Yeah,
and I played, and it was meant to be a recruitment tool to get people that were interested in video games interested in the Army. Yes. Obviously, it didn't work on me, but I played this game for months and had a lot of fun with it. It was, it wasn't really like Counter-Strike, but it sort of had that same vibe where like it was definitely like you get hit, you're dead.
It almost reminded me of like Ghost Recon, where it was more tactical based.
It was like Ghost Recon, but without the gadgets. Like with the exception of like there was like night vision goggles, and that was about it.
Yeah.
And, no, I do remember that game too, and I enjoyed it a lot, except for the fact it was so realistic. Once you get shot, you're dead.
Well, the realism went farther than that because there were training missions that you could go on in this game. In order to unlock different player classes. It had a little bit of TF2 in it, or if you take out the cartooniness of it, it was a class-based game. And to get into, there's certain missions that you had to be special ops.
Oh yeah.
And in order to get to be special ops, you had to go through like extremely, for a video game anyways, extremely rigorous training, which included, and I'm not kidding, going to a military hospital where you had to walk down a hall, sit in a chair, and watch a teacher give a lecture, and then take a test, all in virtual environment, like not filmed. And so you had to take this medical response. Like, okay, what do you do if someone gets shot in the field? Like, what's your like immediate medical attention you provide? And you had to go through it was all like real world detail of what she did. And oh my god, I had so much trouble with it because it was just so goddamn long. It's like this isn't a video game. This is a real class.
Do you know someone that played that game that actually got recruited to the Marines, but
I do not.
Had that in his
but I'm the only person I know that actually played it. Kyle may have gone on once or twice, but I don't know anyone who played that regularly.
I did.
Well,
I played it because I wanted to connect with there were twins.
Okay.
And they were Eagle Scouts, and they moved, and that was one way to connect with them. And play with them. So I really didn't necessarily enjoy the game too much because I sucked at it. But I played it because I wanted to connect with them.
Yeah, it was one of those games where teamwork was everything. If you had like 2 people on your team that had mics and actually were communicating, you won most matches compared to any other team.
It's true. It's true. That's where I got started getting the. I don't know if I guys ever told you this. I don't know if you guys think this of me too, but people accuse me of camping.
Okay.
That's not a game you can camp
This is like Gamers AA now.
Well, I mean...
Hi, guys. I'm
Brent,
Gerbs,
really?
and I'm a camper.
Oh, Brent, that was hilarious. Camping, I did camping a lot in all games. I think it's a legitimate strategy, you know?
It's a legitimate strategy.
It's a legitimate strategy! Red versus Blue, reference to all y'all.
Yes. Latest season just started up. Should go watch that. It's on YouTube.
I haven't seen it yet. I have to catch up a little bit. Anyways.
Yeah, there's a couple seasons.
What was I saying? Camping.
You were camping, and people were upset about it.
Well, yeah, because they're like, you're a douchebag with a sniper rifle. And I'm like, yeah, so?
Every person with a sniper rifle in a video game, and when you're not that person, is a douchebag. That's just like a rule.
I know, right? Like, they're just mad that I found a good spot. And I was
they're mad that you took the sniper rifle.
Well, okay,
everyone
some
wants
games,
a sniper
though,
rifle.
I played, everyone could get a sniper rifle.
Oh, true. Okay, I'm thinking in terms of Halo, where there's like only ever one sniper rifle,
yeah, and Halo,
you have to be the person
that
gets it.
A douchebag for getting the sniper rifle. Like you get both a sniper rifle and a shotgun, or a sniper rifle and a rocket launcher.
It's a meme on the Halo subreddit of like you're a douchebag if you betray your own team for the sniper rifle, and how like half of players seem to be willing to do that.
There's many times I've done that. I mean, what?
Ooh.
I mean, I said I wanted it first.
I mean.
Anyways, so not to think of the Fallen like in Destiny, but the Fallen. To remember the Fallen. What games made you feel like you remember the Fallen?
I mean, I wouldn't say fault. Like, if you're talking about like games that like I think are most connected to what soldiers actually did, I would say initially the Medal of Honor series.
Oh, I thought you were going to say full
spectrum. But then even more so, and they took it to a better level, were the first Call of Duty games. Once you hit like 3 or 4 on,
the first
becomes
3
completely unrealistic.
Well,
there's elements. There's elements like Modern Warfare was a great game, and it had some good elements about like the whole like. I remember watching the coverage of it when it was at E3, and they're like, "Oh, yep, here's some just like you're going through some stuff or whatever, and you're prone, and you're like, oh man, there's all these, and you're in camouflage, and there's all these tanks that go over you, and then this guy gets him up in front of you, and you're like, wait, what? The guy was in a ghillie suit the whole time."
I think that
like I remember those things, and those are really cool.
I think,
but like whenever I think of like war games in terms of like a video game that's about a war, I usually think of Call of Duty, the first one, because I remember having these great opportunities that once again probably on our dad's gateway, my Brent's dad's gateway, and he had like some pirated probably version of Call of Duty, the first one, and it was it wasn't, I don't know if it was the full game or whatnot, but I just remember loving playing that first level because you played as the 101st Airborne.
It was Saint Mary-Glisse, the first section. Yeah, that Saint Mary-Glisse, and that, well, I mean, COD 1, 2, and 3 as well. There's another offshoot called the Big Red One, and all of those played like you were in Band of Brothers. That's how they all were.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, I remember that.
But what I thought was really great about those too was there's so much attention in movies and in television dramas and stuff like that about things like D-Day, you know, where but they mostly pay attention to what happened on the beaches. And true, what happened on the beaches is ridiculous. Like I just this last week, I think it was probably, I don't know if it was coincided with Memorial Day, but it's just kind of coinciding because that's coming up here, right?
What is?
D-Day? It's June something, right? I mean, it's like this next week.
I believe so.
Yeah, and so there was a French artist.
June 6th, by the way. June 6th.
Yeah, June 6th. So it's this next week. That there was this French artist who they took a bunch of volunteers and they had stencils of human bodies, and then they had rakes and they raked into the sand at one of the beaches like thousands and thousands of body shapes on the beach to be like, this is like the death toll from this one beach. And it's crazy.
Saving Private Ryan kind of.
Oh yeah, exactly. So that's why I'm like, there's a lot of attention drawn towards the beaches, and that's why I thought that Call of Duty, the original Call of Duty, was so great, because they're like, hey, that same day there was also a bunch of people who landed inland and worked their way back to the beach to help people out, and I'm like, that's brilliant, like actually showing the strategy of the military.
So you guys probably haven't played it, but I have Call of Duty, the newest one, World War II. The campaign's amazing. It's graphics, sound. It's accurate to what happened. It's not just D-Day. It's like you're describing. And then you play the multiplayer, and it's terrible. And the whole Brent's favorite topic.
Which one is that?
Where you have to loot boxes.
Oh yeah. Multiplayer in World War II is crap, but I have to admit, because I agree with you wholeheartedly, that World War II has the best campaign in Call of Duty since the Modern Warfare series.
Yeah,
it's fantastic.
So on the Discord, this is a completely visual thing. I'm sending out.
But they can't see it, Kyle.
Audio only. Jesus.
This is why we gotta make it a perk on the Patreon that people can see our crazy Discord,
or just the Discord feed.
Anyway, but there's this article of this British artist, Jamie Wardley and Andy Moss. They got a bunch of volunteers and they etched 9,000 silhouettes in the beach.
Crazy.
And when you back up, you're like, oh, it's kind of like a weird beach. And then they zoom in, and then you're like, oh my goodness, those are the shapes of just bodies. And it like covers the beach. It doesn't just like cover a section. It just like encompasses the entire beach.
Yeah, I remember doing a research project on it, and everything went wrong that day.
A lot of things went wrong, but like a lot of things were like in their favor. As much as there was a huge, death toll, because they had so many different things happening at once, there was no way that the Germans would have been able to keep up.
True.
And that's how the Allied forces won that, or at least were able. It was not necessarily a victory, but a definite pushback.
Yeah. Well, let's go back to that Medal of Honor game.
Which one?
Which one? That's a thing. So the first ones I thought were really good.
First ones.
Yeah, the first ones, because those ones were because back in the day, most of first-person shooters didn't exist on consoles, because people were like, no, this isn't going to work. And so that's why Brent and I are saying, a lot of our first experience with these were on a PC.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And then it wasn't really, you do get games out of the blue, like GoldenEye on N64 that revolutionized shooters on a console setting. And then you get Combat Evolved, which solidified that, yes, this can work on a console.
Right.
So
go ahead.
Yeah, so I remember playing the Medal of Honor games in a similar vein on PC, and I don't it's either that it was so long ago, or that it's starting to like meld in my mind with Call of Duty that they were so similar
No.
that it was just a different part of the story.
Well,
Disagree.
remember, so just a little primer here. Just for those of you who don't know, like the whole like inside baseball thing of Call of Duty, the people who made Call of Duty are so all the
Infinity Ward.
Infinity Ward. Well, the guys that founded Infinity Ward, what the series, the Medal of Honor series, they all the great games from Medal of Honor. You guys remember? That was them. And then EA screwed them over, so they left and made Infinity Ward and got bought by Activision. And then Activision screwed them over, and so they left again and made Respawn, and then got rebought back by EA.
Yeah,
and made
it's a whole mess.
Titanfall.
The gaming industry, everyone.
Oh, yes.
Well, so what I remember from the Medal of Honor is the one mission where you're playing with the Russians.
Which one?
And
No.
That's a lot of games.
The one called No Russian? Is that the one? That's like Modern
There's
Warfare.
a mission.
No.
You literally have no ammo. They give you a gun.
Oh, right.
That's in Call of Duty as well.
That's Call of Duty 1.
Oh, is it?
Because
in
Call of
I think
Duty
it's
1.
I think that's Call of Duty 2.
Oh.
I think that was the one that was on 360 and PS2.
And that's like
the Russian section
I'm gonna run in there.
Because in the Russian section of Call of Duty 1, they give you a gun with no ammo.
Yeah, because that's they show that because that wasn't a U.S. thing. That was a Russian thing. They didn't have the material, and so that was at the Battle of Leningrad.
Yeah,
and they got off the boats coming across the river, and they're like, "Here's some ammo. Next guy. Here's a gun. Next guy. Here's some ammo.
Yeah,
next guy."
Right.
And so the whole point was like, okay, hopefully, if you have a gun, it has a bayonet at the end. You can stab someone and take their ammo, or you wait for someone to die and then take their ammo, and then vice versa. Yeah, like the person with ammo, like duck and cover, wait for someone to die, and then grab their gun.
Yeah, they had that in Call of Duty 1.
Old fashioned.
Oh, it gets
Well, no,
better.
it's just they just didn't have the means. They were.
I know, but
they were
like,
such
my
such
God.
poverty.
It gets better because that section of Call of Duty 1, they did one other thing that's historically accurate. If you can only move one direction, and because the historical record was if anyone retreated, the officers would shoot you. So in the game, if you turn around and take a step backwards, your own people will shoot you.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah,
It's pretty nuts.
Yeah, I thought it was a crazy mission. I was like, well, damn. This is
Yeah,
not
right?
real.
Yeah.
So,
I think, yeah, after like a lot of that stuff, see, like it's kind of a crazy. We play these games about like these terrible atrocities that happened in the world, and they're like, that was such a great game. But then like thinking about living through that, they would have been like, oh, that would have not been fun. But not only that, but like the further along that these games have gotten in time, like you get to modern, like Call of Duty Modern Warfare, and you get to some of these other games, even things like SOCOM and Counter-Strike and stuff like that. It becomes so like the lines are so blurred because it's no longer about like, okay, these people are clearly on this side, these people are clearly on this side. It becomes, okay, who are we fighting for, and like what are we fighting for, and like is it like it becomes all like an anti-terrorism thing as opposed to a just like keeping the peace thing. Like it's weird. I mean, you get stuff like in modern. I think it's in Modern Warfare 1, or is it in 2? Yeah, I think no, it's in Modern Warfare 2 where you get that mission No Russian.
Yeah,
which is still like one of the most controversial levels in a video game ever.
And then later on in a different Call of Duty, you got press F to pay respect. So, you win some, you lose some.
Yeah. So and those of you who don't know what No Russian is, it's a level where you are a undercover agent with these Russian terrorists, and you have to go through an airport. And it's about like, it's the same kind of deal almost as the other stuff with the Russian stuff during Leningrad, where it's like you can't go backwards, but you also like there's all these innocent people, and everyone and all the guys that are with you are shooting them up. And so the idea is that you're supposed to be kind of like shooting them too, but they're just like innocent civilians. So you're just mowing down all these people, and if you try to shoot any of the guys who are hurting them, you lose the mission. And you can potentially, if you really want to play it this way, you can just shoot and miss everybody, but it's really difficult. And then when you get to the end of the mission anyway, you find out that they knew that you were a spy and they kill you anyway. So even if you did what they wanted and you mowed down all these people trying to fit in, it was all pointless and you just murdered all these people. So it's pretty intense. I remember playing it the first time and just being like, oh my goodness. Yeah, it's like that circus fire. It's intense. Or it was like my last camping outing. It was intense. Yeah, like the kind of humor that you can expect at Stream of Gaming.
A weekly podcast of Gerb's dumb puns.
Shenanigans. Shenanigans.
No, I wanted to say it in the intro, but I didn't. I resisted myself. I wanted to say a weekly podcast of where you guys make fun of Destiny 2 and Destiny in general.
I mean, we could make that a thing.
No.
There's actually I going off topic, which is a part of the stream of gaming. I saw something on social media or whatever that was like, there is a bracket of the top Destiny podcasts, and they people vote on what what they think the best Destiny podcasts, and I'm just like, there's more than 3.
Yeah, man.
That are still running.
There are at least 25 to 30 different podcasts about Destiny, and so they had the top 16 or whatever. And I'm just like, I have never heard of these podcasts ever.
It's a good game. You guys diss it.
That's why I haven't heard of it.
It's a good game.
Good game. GG.
GG, man. GG.
Talk about a game that has nothing to do with with realistic warfare. Destiny, otherwise known as everything's explained by space magic.
Fallen in there, huh? Fallen.
No, but that's not though. It's not. Well, if you want to talk about, this is a good segue. If you want to talk about interesting games that kind of involve war, little bits, you can.
Oh my god, that's such a...
What's wrong with you, Kyle?
It's a Rick and Morty quote.
It's a great joke.
Okay.
Yeah, it's okay. But there's there's this game that is on the horizon. We don't know when it's coming out, but there's been a trailer and some info dropped about it, and it's called Atomic Heart. And it takes place in
it's Fallout BioShock, basically.
Yeah, it's like Fallout BioShock, but they also said that the developer said that they want to try to make it like a first-person Bloodborne in the terms of there's supposed to be dodges and counters and stuff like that, and they said it's actually going to be more melee focused than the trailer suggests.
The trailer showed some boss fights that look kind of like that, so I can see what they're going for. Yeah,
but it takes place in an alternate world where Russia had an industrial technological boom during the Cold War, where they had the capability, they had the internet, and they had robots, and they had all these different things that they didn't have. And you play as a soldier who gets sent to this facility that the robots essentially there's something going on with the robots where they malfunctioned and they become sentient and they start attacking people.
See, that's not what it looks like. It looks like when I look at that trailer, I'm like, oh, it looks like you went back to Chernobyl and discovered a robot uprising.
Yeah, so there's a great video that I did where they're like, here's all the things that we saw, and then they talked with the developers about it. And so that's where I'm getting a lot of this information from, is this interview that they had with the developers. And so it takes place in this park, or at least part of it takes place at this park where there's these robots that are, and essentially they look like they're attraction based, and then
Transformers, moments in disguise.
They're not in disguise. They're just creepy looking robots that were apparently for carnival type things, and then they just turned on people.
Brent. I made a reference and Kyle didn't go along with it.
Is that a thing that happens normally?
I mean, I kind of just you ignored my little bits, so
Yeah,
little bits.
I don't know where that's from.
You got to watch Rick and Morty, man.
I don't watch it.
You got to.
Hi, I have ants in
That's what
my
everyone
eyes.
says, but I don't. When someone tells me to jump off a cliff, do I do it? No.
If you're gonna die, don't.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, Brent breaks that rule all the time.
Oh man. No, but I think this game, just from the looks of it, if you haven't checked it out, you can go on YouTube and just look up Atomic Heart, and they dropped a trailer a couple weeks ago, and it looks beautiful and it looks absolutely crazy. I wouldn't say like it's hot. I would say like they've been working on this for a long time, and they just want to get people to do it. Oh my goodness. This needs to be a visual podcast.
Ants in my eyes, Johnson.
Ants in my eyes, Johnson.
Yeah.
There's ants in my eyes. I also can't feel anything, but that's not as catchy as ants in my eyes.
Yeah.
Oh man, it's so
You
good.
have something in your eyes? Is it?
It's ants. So anyway,
Anyways.
that was my sidestep, because I was just like, games that I've recently heard about and am excited about that somewhat have to do with war, because it takes place during the Cold War.
Wait, I should bring up my notes because I have a list of the games that I was looking at.
Yeah,
That's what I heard from Brent.
I mean, we could talk about fictional wars. We could talk about Star Wars.
No, we're fine.
That man, there's so many people who die in the Star Wars.
Okay.
It's a wrap.
Okay. So since we just kind of went off the rails from war games to Chernobyl Robot Uprising, how about Rage 2?
Oh god.
How about what?
Have you guys seen the trailer for Rage 2?
Oh yeah, that looks amazing.
Rage 2?
So
Yeah.
a couple of years ago, at like the very, very end of the Xbox 360, like the last year, is it Bethesda or Epic? I forget which, but they released
Bethesda.
It was Bethesda.
But
They released a game called Rage 2. Or not, sorry,
Rage.
Rage 1, sorry.
Yeah.
And it's
Here,
basically
I'm posting
like
it on their thing.
Rage 1 was sort of like something along the lines of Mad Max meets Borderlands.
Mhm.
In terms of universe. The thing is, it apparently launched with some really, really bad technical problems on console, and the only place you could run it well was on PC, and only then if you had an incredibly good PC. And so everyone kind of assumed that it had died as a franchise because there was only one game and it didn't sell so well. And then just last week or so...
Well, no, they had been like on their Instagram, been putting all these like weird pictures, and they're like, everyone's just kind of like, what are these? And then like, if you put them all together, it has all these post-apocalyptic things, and then the number 2.
Well, what had happened is Walmart, or someone at Walmart, made a boo-boo, and they released a list of games that were not supposed to be announced yet, and Rage 2 is on there. So Bethesda sort of went with it. It was like, okay, well, cat's got out of the bag here, so we're just going to do this viral marketing campaign here all of a sudden. And then they culminated in this trailer, and the game looks...
There's like a couple trailers.
There's a couple trailers now, but it's the trailers look to me like Borderlands got crossed with Far Cry, because it's incredibly crazy violence and over the top explosions and everything, but it's
but also because it also they work with id software.
Yeah, I think
it also like the graphics look like Doom.
Yeah, they do.
I mean, it's really like really good looking. Man, some of the people in this game look like they're doomed.
I mean, they're all.
But I was talking
doomed,
about the game Doom, where you go to Mars and hell happens. But yeah, I mean, I'm excited for it. It looks pretty dope.
Let's see what else I got here going on.
So you guys have anything else to add on Memorial Day and War Games?
War Games is a great movie.
That's a great segue.
With Matthew Broderick.
Kyle?
It's a great movie.
Kyle, I will come to Milwaukee and smack you.
Oh man, now they know where I live. Why?
Damn it.
Why would they? No, it's okay. By the time they hear this podcast, I will be long gone.
Right.
Or not. I don't know. I don't know. I mean, that's why I was like, when you posed it, I'm like, yeah, it's a great topic. And it was it's definitely timely. And there is a lot of games out there that are based in warfare.
Yeah.
But I'm just like, I'm not into those as much. Like I was into them like when like the first ones were out, and now it's just gotten to be this like huge thing, and now it's like a huge competitive gaming thing, and I'm just like, I like my wars to be fictitious. We're like, we're not, you have the Halo stuff, where it's just like this is in a fictional universe, and
so realistic that like,
I mean, there were a couple of years when there were so many World War II games that people were just complaining about it.
Yeah,
I remember, you remember when we were watching X Play back when that was still a thing, and they were like,
Oh,
"Hey
man,
guys, guess
show.
what? There's another World War II game."
What?
And I mean, I was just looking up stuff on Steam, and like, remember, I never even played this, but I wish I had. Company of Heroes. There's a series. There's a series of World War II tactical real-time strategy games. Which there was one that came out not too long ago. It's just a couple of years back. Company of Heroes 2 came out in it's 2013, so it was 5 years ago.
That's a while ago.
It's a little while ago, but like even now, I'm looking at the screenshots of this game. It looks really, really good. I'm like, man, if this was on, well, actually, it's on Mac. And now I'm getting a new computer soon, so maybe we'll see. Because I think a new MacBook Pro from 2018 can play it. 2013.
Yeah. Should be able to.
Should be able to.
Yeah, I don't know. There's that part of the element that like games that there was just too many. There were too many games that were all these military shooters. And so it was kind of like, it almost became like sports games, where it's just like, I don't have to get one every year. Like I can get one every handful of years and it'll be about the same, unless everyone was just like, oh my God, this game, it like changes everything. Then you don't have to necessarily, then maybe go out and pick it up. But almost made me think of these videos I've seen where it's like, critics thought that games were terrible, and then people bought them, and like people still like the games, or vice versa, where it was like critics really loved the games, but people hated them. And we find something that's similar in music. As someone who goes out and purchases music for performance purposes, the way you combat bad games is by not buying them.
And you know what?
No, seriously,
it works.
Like, people always talk about like, oh man, how do we get, like in music industry, like how do we get people to stop writing bad music? And the very clear and simple answer is to not buy it. Like really do your homework when you're finding something. Yeah. So there's all these music publishers who are publishing just like crap after crap after crap. And people are buying it because someone somewhere said it was good. And it doesn't hold up to any good standards. And it might teach something that's useful, but it's not like a great piece of music. But people buy it, and so it stays around. Meanwhile, great pieces of music don't get bought hardly. Like you have to really find people who buy it. So the same thing is true of like good video games. Like the reason why they keep making more and more and more Call of Duty games is because people buy them.
Yeah, but I haven't bought a Call of Duty game for like 10
I know,
years.
But that's what I'm saying. You got to do it in a massive. We're doing our part by not buying them. We can't like go out and
I
like
feel
campaign to not. What?
I feel accomplished. I've been doing my job for 10
right.
years.
Like I saved money for me, but like they're gonna keep making them. Hopefully. Well, now in this day and age, people, the developers clearly listen to and watch people's comments and forums and stuff like that, where there's like, man, this part of this game sucks. Because like even like Gerbs, you were saying, parts of Destiny 2, they're getting better. Well, it's because the developers are clearly listening and watching to what people are doing and saying.
Right, they finally are.
But the thing is, they need to try to figure that stuff out before they release the game, which is I know, right? Crazy concept. People have been doing it for like decades, and then all of a sudden, the last couple of years are like, what the fuck?
I don't know. I think as much as like we give Destiny crap, like Destiny players, like it's not a. I feel like it's a harder game to publish than people think. It's. I feel like sometimes we ask a lot.
Well,
right?
I mean,
Yeah, but but this is also like I know that it's not all the same people, but it's from the same development team that brought us one of the best like shooters, console shooters in existence.
In name only, the actual number of people.
I know. That's what I'm saying. Like, I know it's not the same team. Like,
well, no, like
people,
I mean, at all. Like the people that that made Halo, like they've all left. There's like 3 of them left.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, they could probably have like retired on most of their sales from the last,
Where did they go, Brent?
Where did they go? Well, some of them retired, and some of them went to make their own studios, and some of them are now working at other studios that are not.
Do you like know?
And some of them got screwed over by Bungie
and ended up making a game for PSVR for some reason. Yeah, it's weird.
What?
Marty O'Donnell, the composer of Halo, he got screwed over by Activision and Bungie for not giving him royalties, even though he is like at the point that Destiny 1 came out, he was like the only named person at Bungie that anyone still cared about, and they screwed him over.
He also like had made concept music for Destiny, and it was amazing.
Basically, he's like, I've been doing this for a long time. People will buy this game because I'm making the music for it, and he's freaking right. I did, and and they ended
up not using his stuff.
They ended up no. What happened is because he left, because his contract basically gave him rights to some of his music. It wasn't like in most organizations where the composer has no rights to their work. He actually had some stipulations in his contract, and so they had to throw out some stuff that they used without his permission, and he did not get paid royalties for it. So he went to court for that and won. But he now works, I forget the name of the studio. He's working at a small studio making a game called Gollum, which is a PSVR game that has yet to launch. I don't know what's going on with that though.
The soundtrack is amazing.
Oh yes, I mentioned it in
the pre-game soundtrack is amazing.
I mentioned it's called something of the last.
We've talked about it on the podcast before.
Yes, we have.
So
long time ago.
Gollum?
Yeah, Gollum.
Yeah, I think it's.
When is that coming out?
Oh, we don't know.
It's
PSVR.
Yeah, it's not even like regular PlayStation.
Yeah, I know, right? Like it's like, why can't you make something that like the masses can do? But the good news is you can at least listen to the music on iTunes and on YouTube and stuff.
The game was announced during the VR craze when like everyone was buying stock or kickstarting all the various VR sets and whatnot. And then of course nothing sold except to PC enthusiasts, and now no one's announcing any new VR games because nothing is making any money.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
It might pick up eventually. We'll see. Yeah, if you want to find out, that's another kind of interesting sidestep. But if you want to find out more about that, I know there's a.
By the way, that
they do
album...
they do a bit on IGN where they have interviews with people after they've left companies.
Mm-hmm.
And they did an interview with Marty. And he talks about like all the stuff.
That album, by the way, is called "Echoes of the First Dreamer,"
and it's great.
And it is available on pretty much all music services that I know of. So whatever you subscribe to is there.
We endorse Marty O'Donnell because he is one badass motherfucker.
If you want to hear something that something that sounds exactly like Martin O'Donnell, go to the last track. It's called "Fanfare." If you want to hear him do something that does not sound at all like Marty O'Donnell, but is still just cool as hell, I would recommend the 4th track, "Lament in the Endless City." Both great tracks.
This sounds good.
Yes.
Yeah.
I have a PS4. Do I have to get like a PS?
Yeah, you have to buy.
I don't know if the PSVR is quite worth it yet.
I mean, there's a lot of stuff for it. It's just kind of whether or not the games for it are good.
Yeah.
Like for instance, this last 2 weeks there was a sale on Batman games, and I got both of the remasters of Arkham Asylum and Arkham City, and I got the complete edition of Arkham Knight. And I was going through what Rocksteady had done in recent years, and I found out that they released a Batman VR game, an Arkham.
Oh
game,
yeah.
and it looks kind of cool. I don't know if it's worth buying a PSVR 4, but it looks.
I know,
cool.
yeah.
How much does that cost? I didn't even
The
know.
PSVR is another 200, 300 on top of your system.
Yeah, it's $200
I'm pretty sure.
for the PSVR. Right now on Amazon, the only bundle I see is there's a PSVR.
It's 200.
And if
$199.99.
And if you want to get it
Oh my
bundled with
gosh.
Doom VR, it's $285, down from $300.
Yeah.
That's
It's
too expensive.
VR.
Yeah. So if you're
yeah.
someone who's an enthusiast and you're really into it, you can go and do that. But I think other ones are probably
because right now, if you want to do
cheaper, but-
VR, you have to first of all you have to have a gaming PC that has at least a GTX 1070, something fairly recent.
Yeah.
And then on top of that, you need to get your VR thing itself. Most of the starter kits are $1,000 because you have to get the VR headset and a controller unit, and then some of them like the HTC systems, the Vive. You actually have to get room sensors. Then you have to have a room in your house that's large enough for you to set up these sensors so you can actually walk around in virtual space.
My friend has a virtual reality. It's awesome.
It's a huge undertaking and a huge expense right now. It's nuts.
It's so much fun. We played this this
I
puzzle
bet.
game where we had manuals and we have to defuse a bomb.
Oh, that's cool.
There's multiple things we have to do.
cool.
Yeah, we have to give him instructions and directions. He sees things, and he has to tell us what he sees, and then he'll click things, and then if he doesn't do it correctly, the bomb will go off. It is a lot of fun.
There's a Rick and Morty.
There is a Rick and Morty VR game.
It's kind of ridiculous.
It actually looks kind of
As
fun.
is the show.
It's apparently you can do everything in it in 30 minutes because it's essentially Rick's garage, and you can interact with things in it, and weird stuff happens, and it's really funny. But I looks kind of cool.
They have a Plumbus.
They have a Plumbus. Yes, they do.
That's a wrap. What do you guys think?
I think so.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for listening to Stream of Gaming. Remember, if you like to help us out, you could visit patreon.com/streamofgaming. Also, like or subscribe us on YouTube, iTunes, SoundCloud, anything like that, because we're on all those platforms.
Mm-hmm.
Also, you can also go on a Twitter page and ask us to do certain topics, or tell us that we don't like certain topics. Whatever you want to do, tell us so we know what to do.
We have email too.
Yeah.
We do.
Stream it.
What is that?
Yeah, man. I picked this title of a podcast and I went with it. we
Yes,
own
you
the
did.
Gmail and the Twitter for Stream of Gaming.
Well,
Yeah, so you can
What is
contact
it
us
called?
those ways. I think it might be a good idea in the next couple of weeks here to do some of our E3-ish talks because June is E3 month,
oh yeah.
and so we'll be figuring out what we see coming out, what we want to see coming out, and
What Brett's gonna buy me,
yeah,
A hacky sack.
who
Brent?
What? You don't like hacky sacks?
I do, but I want a video game.
Oh.
Buy me one.
it's a virtual hacky sack.
You know I'm gonna get you an Xbox game then, right?
Who
That's fine.
Okay.
anyway,
This has been Stream of Gaming. I'm Gerbs.
I'm Kyle.
And I'm Brent. So do I say bye,
And-
Felicia now?
and
What's going on?
see you next time.
Okay.
Bye, Felicia.
No!